Hello, 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 YouTube. Welcome back to the midweek edition of Real Talk Therapy 101 with your girl, Ebony. Thank you guys for taking the time to come to check us out today and continue this conversation that we're having this week on how to set boundaries as we go back to basics. And remember, this week, we're not using the analogy back to the basics because the basics could be somebody else's way of doing things. But when you go back to basics, it's back to your basics where you learn to set boundaries and set those things for yourself. And you're learning how to continue to set those boundaries at each stage of life. So far this week, we are using, some personal metaphors and experiences of my own instead of some cartoon characters to kind of just display the different growing pains, hence today's shirt, that we go through in each stage of our life. So it's fall, it's getting a little cool out there, a little brisk out there in the morning time. Real good friend of mine, Maurice Barnes. As he would say, it's a crispy day, and we're having crispy mornings. And so you can see we're switching from some short sleeve to long sleeve tees. We do hoodies, sweatshirts, whatever it is that you need and want to get customized. And so, we're not wasting any time, getting right into this conversation. So today's shirt does say Growing Pains, Real Talk Therapy 101. And we are saying 101 in today's sessions or this week's sessions because we're going back to when we first was aware of how we learned how to do things, how we would set boundaries for ourselves, and how those things would change at each stage of life. And like I said, we've gone from elementary school to middle school. And if you haven't guessed it yet, today we're going to talk about those things that we learned when we were high schoolers, early adolescents, anywhere from the age of 13, 14 to 18, 19. So let's get right into it. Our bag for the day. And let me see if I can do the shoes again this way. I'm hoping, because I can't see the camera. But these are our shoes for today. Vapor Max, little blended colors. And our bag for the day is another tote, Coach City tote. The Coach logo, variety of colors, blends very well with the khaki dynamic that I'm going for today. And that's just my bag for today. And let me do this though, just in case the shoes didn't make the debut that I wanted them to make. So there's the blended colors. You can kind of see khaki and all of that. Okay. All right. So let's get situated and get into this good old conversation for today about high school. So we all know, as we're going through our different stages of life and as we're growing up and we're experiencing different things in life, we now have left middle school and we've made it through elementary school, and now we're in high school. And in high school, like I said, the ages all depends on, some kids are really, really smart and they got to be in the 9th grade at 12. But if memory serves me correctly, I was about 13 years old when I started high school. I know I started in 92, graduated Scotland High School, the only high school in my county. Graduated with the illustrious class of 1996. Ain't no class better. in my opinion. But high school was an exciting time for me, but still a scary time, because going into high school, when I was in 9th grade, I was in some advanced classes, and not AG, academically gifted. Your girl won't want that. But I was advanced enough to take some classes with some upperclassmen, because of my GPA and all that good stuff. And a lot of my 9th grade classes were with 10th and some 11th graders. And I met a lot of cool people that I'm still cool with to this day at Scotland High School in those classes. And a lot of those people have become family to me to this day. But we had 4 middle schools when I was in middle school in the county. So you're thinking about all 4 middle schools migrating to this one high school, and that's just the 9th grade. So you got all of 10th grade, 11th grade, and 12th grade. And just like kindergarten, just like 6th grade, in 9th grade, you're starting over again. You're no longer the top dog, you little PI, you're underclassman, and you're a freshman. You know, people pranked you and told you your class was way over here and you should have been going over there. People, just did all kinds of stuff, pranks and played with you, and you're nervous because now you got to interchange more classes, and then you got semesters, and it was a whole lot of information to be trying to receive in the 9th grade. But you learn to adjust based off whatever boundaries, whatever rules, whatever things you had established for yourself in the 8th grade and coming over to the 9th grade. You had that summer to experience some different things, and now even your parents are having to change some of the boundaries, because now you're given another level of responsibility. Now you should be reaching another level of maturity, and so you're to be trusted to be a latchkey kid if you weren't already one. You're trusted to look after your siblings if you weren't already doing that. You are entrusted with several different things at the high school stage. And so I was blessed enough to have some family that was already there and some friends. And I really was looked after by a lot of good people in my life when I made it to high school. But that still didn't stop me from experiencing the fear. And it still didn't prepare me for the type of boundaries I would need to establish, because now I'm getting ready to face some stuff over here that I didn't have to face when I was at IE Johnson. At IE Johnson, nobody ever offered me a cigarette or weed or a wine cooler or anything like that. But you get into high school, some of your friends are already drinking, smoking, having sex. Some of them are pregnant. They've had babies. And I don't even know what, sex is, hadn't kissed. No, none of that. Because, like I tell you, I'm scared to death of my mama. And I used to feel like if I did something, she would know. So a lot of stuff, just that fear and that phobia kept me, behind the curve, so to speak, when it came to what everybody else was doing. But again, too, I wasn't wired that way. I've never wanted to do what everybody else was doing. I've always wanted to be set apart, because I've always felt like I was set apart. But not everybody has that type of confidence or even, and I didn't even know what that was. They call it swag or just that mindset. I didn't know what it was. I just know what I felt. And so like we talked about a little bit about the sports and stuff yesterday, I didn't play basketball because I had family that was playing basketball, and that's what was expected of me. I didn't know how to play. I didn't want to play. I did what I wanted to do. And not knowing then that I was setting myself up to begin setting my boundaries. I joined the Futures Business Leaders of America, so I'm in FBLA, and I was the president, and I love to type. One of the things I asked for Christmas one time was a word processor, a typewriter, and then eventually, a computer. I loved typing class, documenting, and all of that. And shout out to my teachers, Miss Marguerite Langford and Miss Lynn Morgan. Oh my God, those ladies took a hold of me and helped me to the point of when I graduated from high school and was choosing college, I mean, they helped me with scholarships. They helped me from 9th grade all the way to 12th grade. They invested in me. You know, we had guidance counselors that you could go and talk to when you were dealing with some stuff or dealing with some different things. And in high school was the first time that I got in school suspension. I had to go, it wasn't really in school suspension. I had got Saturday detention because I was playing playing some kind of cards on top of I can't remember if it was Tunk or what we was playing. We were playing for quarters, and I was the only girl playing. And we got caught, and I had to go to Saturday detention. And needless to say, I didn't tell my mama until I had to get her up Saturday morning and say I need to ride to school, and go. And even when I got to Saturday detention, oh gosh, I can't. When I got to Saturday detention, the teacher that was doing it, you know, even looked at me when I walked in there, just like, what are you doing here? You know, but there was consequences to my actions. So after that one write-up for gambling on top of the trash can, you know, at lunchtime, playing cards and having to go in there with those guys and having to know then that even the teachers don't expect you to be here, I had to establish some new boundaries because I ain't going back. I don't want to go back. And the trouble I got in just having to get my mama up on a Saturday morning and for her to have to take me to school to sit in this room with all the other troublemakers for a couple of hours and then pick me up. I wasn't doing that again. So I knew I had to do something different when it came to me wanting to do some of the things that I wanted to do. And all during high school, I continued to make more friendships. I continued to experience what it's like to be friends with a whole lot of females and what it's like to be friends with a few females. And so what worked for me in establishing some boundaries then was less was more. And what I mean by that, the more girls I hung around, the more drama it was. The less girls I hung around, the less drama it was. So from 9th to 10th to 11th to 12th, you know, I still have the select few girls, and it's less than 10, you know, so I ain't even got more than 10, and then we weren't always around each other at the same time. We were with each other at different times, and some I saw just at school, some I had an after school relationship with. So, you know, all of those things and those boundaries, and as I go back to that basic concept in adulthood now, I realized that I probably have half the number of female friends in my life now. And I don't even know if I can count 5 that I had in high school because that worked for me. As females, we are very emotionally driven beings. And a lot of us hate to admit it, but we are. Our emotions get the best of us. And some of us are able to retain those things, and some of us are not. So in high school, I had started setting the boundary that I would let everybody tell me how they felt about me and how I made them feel, and if I wasn't a good friend, but I would never say what I felt about them because I just wanted to keep the peace. If you need to get that off you to feel better, all right, cool. It's not going to change nothing, but I'm not going back and forth with you. And I have carried that with me up until maybe a year or so ago. And that was because all of that has been built up all of those years of just and it started in high school. It was a boundary I set in high school where I want the people around me to be okay. I would learn how to deal with how I feel. Or I'll write it in a journal, you know, or I'll type it in a Word document. Or I would pray, you know, about it when I went to church or what have you. That's how I would deal with it instead of using my voice to say, okay, if I made you feel that way, how about what you did to me? So about a year or so ago, I started voicing how I felt, and it didn't matter who it was. Anybody who knows me knows that my grandmothers are a big part of my life, and I would never say anything to my grandmothers because I felt like it was talking back. But now I've learned there's a way to say, Grandma, now, come on now. I get that that's how you feel, but what about, how what you said makes me feel? And they listened to me. And I never knew that people would listen to me because I always chose to keep that inside. I set that boundary back in high school and didn't change it until 2 years ago. So just imagine all the weight of emotional torment and turmoil I'm walking around here with, and I'm getting up every day, putting on a happy face to go out here and make sure that everybody's okay because I didn't want to be bothered with conflict. And there's 2 reasons for that. 2 good reasons for that. One is before I learned how to control my emotions, I didn't have a stopping point between 0 and 1,000. And if I ever get to 1,000 with you, if I ever get to a place where there's no salvaging anything with you, I'm done. I ain't got to say nothing to you. I ain't got to put my hands on you. I don't even have to maneuver. I can learn how to exist in this world without ever talking to people. Not saying that that's good, but it's manageable. Because some bridges that get burned need to stay burned. There's no rebuilding them. So when people are talking about you shouldn't burn bridges, yes, you should. Some bridges need to be burned to the ground, and you don't even need to look back that way, especially if it's not healthy for you. And that's for jobs, friendships, even some family relationships. You can forgive people and move on with your life. You don't have to try to mend or fix everything that's broken. If we break a glass and we're trying to fix it, the shattered pieces, you could hurt yourself. You could cut your hand. If it's broke, clean it up. Maybe make a new glass. I don't know. But if it's broke, don't hurt yourself trying to fix it, especially if the other individual, we're not trying to help you fix it. So like I said, needless to say, I developed my little tribe in high school, and I'm still cool with a lot of those people, today. But I also learned that there were some people who did not like me simply for whatever the reason was. And one thing I've never tried to do back then now, because as we go on this week, I did pick this habit up. But back then, if you didn't like me, I didn't concern myself with why. Especially if I know I hadn't done anything to you. I ain't had time. Over the years, I started wanting to know why. And when we want to know why, it will drive you crazy. Because what difference do it make? If somebody doesn't care for you, knock the dust off your feet and keep it moving. It's okay. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's okay. We don't always have to know why. It's nice to know. Sometimes you want to figure it out. But if you know in your heart of hearts you haven't done anything wrong, stop spinning your wheels like you did in high school to try to figure out the why. Because it's not important. It's really not. People have their reasons. They're entitled to their reasons. People have their opinions. They're entitled to their opinions. And those are about the only 2 things that you will ever hear me say that anyone is entitled to. Because it's yours. I don't have to try to change your opinion, but I can voice how I feel. So in high school, with all the high school drama that was going on around me, that sometimes in my life right now today, I deal with some of that same drama. What I've learned to do is to use my voice to try to understand, especially if it's a working relationship. Because if we got to work together, let's try to understand what the problem is. Now, it's not going to change where I'm coming from. And I'm not going to apologize for anything that I haven't done wrong. If I'm passionate and you hear a little bass in my voice, I'm not coming at you. So I'm going to make sure you understand that, but I'm not going to apologize for it. It's how I convey what I need to convey. Just not going to apologize for it. Because when you start apologizing, you're going to always be apologizing. Then you're going to be apologizing for stuff you ain't even do. Hence, emotional growing pains. You start developing habits that are going to follow you throughout the rest of your days unless you recognize them within yourself. We can't be looking for stuff in other people because that will consume you too. Got to work on the project that's in front of you. Got to look in the mirror and deal with those things. And I guarantee you it's enough self-work for us to do, not to be concerned with what anybody else has going on. But when people understand what your boundaries are, they know how to take you. They know what to do, how to approach you, how to build a working relationship with you. And, you know, if it's a personal relationship, if someone loves you, they will understand that better than it being some guesswork. We got to be able to come to the floor with what our conditions are, what those boundaries are, what those things are that, you know, make sense to us and work for us and help us to be able to convey how and what it is that we feel, so that it's no guesswork and no falling out later and no not understanding. And if I don't understand a place of where you're coming, I'm going to ask, hey, I'm sorry. I just want to make sure I know what you're asking me. Can you tell me that again? Or can you help, you know, make it a little plainer for me? Bernie Mac said, break it down like a fraction. Now, one of my brothers, you give him a math problem and you could probably make it up. He gonna find a solution. Your girl ain't that good at math. But I know that fractions break things down to the simplest form. And sometimes, even as an adult communicating with another adult, you gotta get elementary. You got to go back to what was basic for you in order for people to understand where you're coming from. There's nothing wrong with it. It helps clear the air. It helps dealing with those growing pains of having to now reestablish what my boundaries are again for these 4 years, because I got 2 years of being an underclassman. 9th and 10th grade. Then I'm going to get up there in 11th grade. Oh, man. Now I'm a junior to this thing. And when I get into 12th grade, I'm a senior. I'm a vet at this thing now. I'm top dog again. You know, I done been here for 4 years. I know all the teachers. I know the ins and outs. I know how to skip school and go to Burger King and get a couple of croissants and come back without them noticing. I know, you know, all these different things. I've learned the lay of the land once again. And I've had 4 years to establish what I wanted my boundaries to be in this portion of my life. In your junior year and your senior year, now you're meeting with counselors, you're meeting with teachers, you're looking at what your future is going to be when you graduate. Couldn't wait to be grown. When I was looking for colleges, I wanted to get as far away from Lawrenceburg, North Carolina as I could. And so I went to Elizabeth City State, which was exactly 5 hours away from home. I didn't want to go to the colleges that everybody else that I knew was going. I done been with you for 4 years. I need to see and meet some new people. I need to do something different. Plus, this is our hometown, so I'm always running to y'all. But I need something different. Your girl want to go to college, and she want to go far, far away. And that's what I did. I took the SAT in the 11th grade. You know, I prepared for the road that I wanted to go. And some of my friends didn't go to college, didn't want to, had no desire. Some of my friends went straight into the workforce. You know, and during the time, my town was known for a lot of industrial places and plants that made really good money. You had J.P. Stevens, you had Abbott, you had Eaton. And, you know, I had family that was working at these places and they had really good lives and they were making what seemed to be decent money. But I knew I wanted to do more than what was around me. And so my family, my village, my support system, now it's enhanced a little bit more with more people that helped me to be able to follow what I wanted to pursue at that time. And so I set that boundary. I didn't let it change because some of my closest friends weren't going off to college at the time, or we weren't going to the same college. We figured out how to keep up with each other. We had email. You had MySpace at that time, AOL, them little discs coming in the mail. You had to start up your internet, and once you use them 60 minutes, you go somewhere else and get a free one if you had a computer. But it was just during that time that all of that stuff changed. And so now, at 46 years old, I still have to remember some of the boundaries that I put in place when I was in high school, they needed to change. And I didn't realize how much I had carried that with me over the next phases of my life. How somebody who loved to talk dim their voice for the sake of somebody else being okay, even if they were wrong? That wasn't who I was. So now I need to tell you how I feel. But what I had to learn was I don't want to be talked to any kind of way, so I can't talk to people any kind of way. I can still express myself, but I have to be, courteous of the fact that, hey, look, this conversation got me heated, so I'm not directing my heat at you, but this is how I have to say what I need to say. I curse. So I'm trying to be very respectful on my channel, but I do curse. I'm working on that. But when I am animated and I'm hot and I'm mad, a cuss word or two may come out. But I would never curse you or curse somebody out or curse at somebody. That's not who I am or how I was raised. I'm not going to disrespect you or call you out your name. Even if that's what's going on, I don't do it that way. But to express myself, I might use a word here and there. But now I'm learning the importance of making sure the person that I'm communicating with understands that I'm not coming at you from a negative place. I just got some new rules about how I let people carry me. I got some new rules about how I communicate with people. I'm no longer being quiet. I used to have this analogy of myself as I was working on myself and doing these different things. I had this analogy that I would use to people and say, you know what? For years, I felt like a welcome mat. You know, the welcome mat that you have at your front door or your back door before people come into your house. And I felt like people were rubbing their feet, cleaning their feet on that welcome mat. And before long, it didn't even say welcome anymore. It just said come. Come to Ebony, she'll do it. Give it to Ebony, she'll do it. She don't care. She don't say nothing because people took my silence for consent. And when I started saying no, it was a problem. And I didn't understand why it was a problem. But they had gotten accustomed to you doing it, that now that you don't want to do it and you didn't want to do it, way back when, folks ain't comprehending that. So now you got to have a conversation and you can no longer be passive. And remember, I told you guys we're going to go into forms of communication, but I was very passive before because I wouldn't use my voice. Then when I started using it, your girl came off as aggressive. And there have been times where I've been passive aggressive. Well, I'm going to say a little something, and I'm going to say it in a way that you don't even realize I'm coming for you. But I had to learn to just be straightforward. Say what you mean what you say, and accept the outcome. And then it's okay. Because then now you can move forward past whatever that issue may be. And so as we're looking back on setting those boundaries, self-boundaries now, because before we can go out here and adhere to any other boundaries, we got to be able to set the ones within ourselves. Because once we allow people to walk all over us like that welcome mat, once you allow people to dim your voice, you could end up stuck in that spot for God only knows how long before you're able to come up out of that space and be okay. And so I want you guys to be able to sit back and reflect on it. And sometimes you got to go back. You got to go back to those basic things that worked for you. Remember, not back to the basics, but back to the basics. Back to basics. Back to your basics. The ways that you learned, the ways that you understood things so that you can articulate and communicate that as you're going through your growing pains. So, like always, thank you guys so much for all the new subscriptions, all the encouragement. Thank you for the comments. Like I said, we got some new things coming into play pretty soon. So be on the lookout for that. Thank you guys so much for the support. Thank you guys for liking, commenting, and sharing. I really, really appreciate it. Now, I don't know which one of you all are helping me with this thing with Coach. But thank you in advance because, again, I'm trying to get Coach to be my sponsor. I'm still trying to talk to Lil Wayne because, coming up, some of our interventions and some of our conversations are gonna get back to music. and centering around those things. But this week, remember, we've gone through the elementary phase, we've gone through the middle school phase, and today we're finishing up with how we started establishing some stuff in high school that either we allowed ourselves to get stuck with or we were able to recognize early on and to change. And it's never too late to make a change. I want you to know that. It's never too late to start establishing how you want to be addressed, how you want to communicate. You have that right. Your voice, you have a right to that. That's one thing you're entitled to. So until tomorrow, I want you guys to, just stay cool. However y'all stay cool, be safe, and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye.